Let's jump on to the Cardinals. So the Cardinals have not finished the season strong. That is an understatement. But they are still in the postseason, which is better than the majority of the league can say. But there's no question they did not want to finish the year one on a loss and just not playing very well in the last 5 to 6 games. But yet, like I said, 11-6 gets them in. But who is to blame the most for their second half struggles? And I'm going to come right to you, Ryan Sanudo, our heavy on cards writer. Who do you blame the most for their second half struggles?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Coach Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, it's tough. That's
the Coach of the Year.
That's Coach of the Year right there. I mean, I got to give him a lot of credit for the first half, but the question is second half. And Cliff Kingsbury, I've noticed a lot of inconsistencies on offense. I get it. You don't have DeAndre Hopkins, but time management, personnel, using your guys in the right times. There are certain times where it's at the end of the game, you're losing, and you need plays where you can get out of bounds. And I'm noticing a lot of lackadaisical, types of plays, a lot of predictable plays in the middle of the field. I think if anyone was watching that Colts game, everything was down in the middle of the field, and the clock was ticking, tick-tock, tick-tock. And you're like, why aren't they trying to get out of bounds? And that just never could happen. And I noticed that against the Seahawks as well. I mean, Kingsbury, like I said, I'm giving him a lot of credit for the first half, going through the, leaps and bounds with Colt McCoy when Murray was out. But I think with Kingsbury, there's certain things where, man, you're seeing like rookie mistakes when it comes to this team. And I know with the injuries, but you can see that with a lot of teams, in the league. So I think Kingsbury has a lot to blame, but I'm not going to just sit here and say Kingsbury, it's 100% on him. I also think the offensive line has so many issues with health, with penalties, and lots of mistakes when it comes to botched snaps with when Rodney Hudson was not playing. So I'm not going to just put it all on Kingsbury, but the offensive line again, I think they gave up 5 sacks to Seattle, and Murray was basically, he kept, when he was going into the pocket, his offensive linemen were right there, and the rest. He got sacked 5 times, and usually that's what you were seeing with Murray in his rookie year. So I got to say Kingsbury and the offensive line for the majority of the team's issues right now.
How about you, Lorenzo?
I'm definitely going to piggyback off of Ryan. I think Cliff Kingsbury, he deserves the blame. I mean, you hear the old saying, it starts at the top. It starts with the head coach. It starts with him. I look at it also as this. So, I mean, Ryan mentioned like that Colts game. Well, I also should mention that in December, there was that huge time mismanagement that the Cardinals had toward the end of that Monday Night Football game. And that happened in December when you're making a push for the division title. And then, as you saw on Sunday, a Seattle Seahawks team with absolutely nothing to play for at this point, Pete Carroll still found a way to educate Cliff Kingsbury on how to finish out the season, regardless of what your record looks like. So I feel like that in Kingsbury's end, he just got schooled by names like Sean McVay, by Pete Carroll. He got schooled by Frank Reich as well, all during a very crucial time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing. We got 2 against Cliff Kingsbury. Will you make it 3, Paul?
Absolutely not. You guys, all these scapegoats here and there. Let's call the BS what the BS is. It's Kyler Murray. Because here's the thing.
Whoa. There's three guys. That's not one of them. I mean,
I'm giving you a different one. Okay.
Okay.
It's Kyler Murray. Because over the last 5 weeks, he has only had 2 touchdown passes or more once. That was against the Cowboys. Okay, great. A blind squirrel finds a nut. Here's the thing. Kyler Murray was supposed to be this incredible beast. Oh, no, watch out. He's a franchise quarterback and all this. Underwhelming, because that's what he is, okay? He's been underwhelming. He hasn't put his team on his back. And maybe he's just too short and fragile and small to be able to carry the weight of a team. But quite frankly, he hasn't been able to put it on the table. That's it. Okay, let's just call it how it is. Kyler Murray hasn't been good enough. And we'll see if he can put on his big boy pants, or is he going to be, once again, just a babysat on Monday Night Football as they lose and go one and done. I lean towards the latter.
Wow, I think that's pretty harsh. I don't think Kyler has had a fantastic year, but I do think there's some other things at play there. But I have a different take on this whole question. So it's basically who deserves the blame the most for the Cardinals' second half struggles. And my answer to the question is no one.
Oh, wow.
And here's why. And here's why.
Philosophical.
Here's why nobody's to blame. What can easily happen is we can forget what this team was really supposed to be before the season even started. Most people, most prognosticators had the Cardinals finishing fourth, no higher than third in the division. Nobody had them leading the NFC most of the year, leading the NFC West most of the year, and then getting into the playoffs still with a double-digit win season. But what ended up happening is they get off to this fast start, and now expectations start to raise, but the personnel is still the personnel. And no matter what happens on Monday Night Football in the playoffs, no matter what happened the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, the Cardinals still massively overachieved for what was expected of them. And because of that, I don't even look at the end of the season as a struggle, more or less, or was it more of them playing closer to what we all expected them to be to begin with? So I definitely think there's some things to grow on, and some seeds have been planted in what they've done this season, getting into the postseason. But I won't go as far to say is there someone to blame. The league starts to make adjustments on teams. Injuries start to set in. All those things happen. I think all of that happened to the Cardinals this year, but I won't call it a room for blame. I call it just areas for improvement and areas for development, but there's no blame to go around when you have had the type of season that they've had compared to what the expectations were initially.
I mean, they've had so many injuries. I mean, I get so many teams have that injury, excuse, but you have your number one wideout hurt right now, Hopkins. I mean, they're saying that Watt is going to be back next week. I mean, you definitely have some warts where that they're not going to be out there on this upcoming Sunday or not Monday. But I'm going to also say not just Kingsbury. I'm going to say Steve Keim as well, because I hope you guys know that Rasul Douglas was on the Cardinals, was on the practice squad in October, and they just let him go. And the Packers end up scooping him up, and now Rasul Douglas is one of the best corners in the game right now, and the Cardinals right now are decimated at corner, and now they have to play Breon Borders, they have to play these guys that should not be on the field when they could have had Douglas, who has 5 interceptions in 11 games. So I think a lot of it also has to do with Keim as well, and also first-round pick Zaven Collins, nowhere to be found. I mean, that's another negative on Steve Keim's resume right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with Keim, I'm also looking at the fact that how well did your team, this roster that you put together, perform against the expectations?
No, I get it.
So it's hard for me to say that about the team overall, but it's interesting.